Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Happy New Year's. I hope you're all having a wonderful day and a wonderful new year and a wonderful start to 2021. So this video is actually kind of like a halftime report. One of my friends gave me this idea. He's like, why don't you make a halftime report so that everyone's kind of aware how the Holiday Cup's shaping? Because actually the PvPoke.com rankings did change. So this is going to be a report. I'm pretty sure a lot of you that are playing Holiday Cup have already seen patterns, seen popular things, etc. And it definitely, these rankings do really reflect how the meta is going. I'll also key in on things like special things like Lit Leo, as well as Bibarel, and some other strategies and patterns other battlers might be doing. Anyways, let's get started. So as you see, there's a big noticeable change on number 1. Altaria basically went from 1 to like 13. Diggersby also took a hit. It used to be at number 4, now it's at 11 because of usage. Also, Alolan Marowak. A lot of teams are targeting Alolan Marowak, and because Alolan Marowak can get one-shot by Shadow Balls, Stone Edges, and Bulldozes at a certain range, Alolan Marowak actually took a really big nosedive. It's still really good, don't get me wrong. It still serves really strong against picks, as long as if it has energy, if it has shields, or if especially energy advantage, you can still take out a lot of popular picks with Alolan Marowak. However, Alolan Marowak and Altaria have taken a nosedive. So has Snorlax as a safe switch, just because of the popularity of the fighters. As you see, Vigoroth and Obstagoon are both really, really popular. To be expected, because there's not a lot of things that actually check fighting types, unless it's Altaria itself. And even then, like, a lot of the ghosts, etc., even if you do have to, like, contend against, like, a Frostless, etc., Obstagoon has Night Slash, and Bulldoze still does a decent amount of damage. So, there's still a lot of things you can do, and that's why Vigoroth and Obstagoon are at the top 5. As you see here, we're going to analyze the leads, etc., closers, and switches, so I'm going to go through each and every one, and we'll see. But for the most part, fighters and charmers are dominating. So, things like Alolan Graveler, as well as Frostless, which we all expected to be really strong. Skarmory is also still very powerful. Steel Wing is definitely being used to take out Frostless and other things. However, and I believe it beats Obstagoon in the ones, but like I don't. But as you see here, the only like Skarmory is still viable. Altaria, not so much. It's still really good if you get Obstagoon lead, etc. And you can close out with it. But Big Bird has taken a huge hit for the second half of Holiday. All right, now we go on to the leads, switches, and closers. Now, as you see here, the electric lead has not changed much. Still a great advantage. Alolan Graveler is a beast. If you see me stream on Twitch, it's a freaking monster. And even if you do lose the lead against it, you can queue up energy, you could still KO a lot of things, and you can set up the switch in for... There's a lot of things you can do with Alolan Graveler, and just other electric users, as you see here. Also, if you get a flyer and get locked into one of these monsters, it's going to be a bad time for them. Now, remember I mentioned Alolan Marowak is still really good. It's still a top lead. The reason being is because it's able to take out Vigoroth, Wiggly, Frostless, Skarmory, Bombsnow, which are all popular picks. This is where the lead, it gets kind of weird, because Alolan Marowak can take out, like, I'd say, like, 60% of the popular meta. Otherwise, it can't. So, Alolan Marowak is still very, very good. It's just fallen off the course because, like I said, a lot of battlers are targeting it. But it's still very good. A popular one is probably Charmers. Wigglytuff has definitely taken the reins as a very popular lead because of its ability to take out all the fighters, Altaria, and the 2-shield Wiggly strat actually does very, very well. If you don't resist it, like Alolan Graveler or Alolan well, actually, just if it doesn't get out pressured, like things like Alolan Graveler, or resisted by Alolan Marowak or Skarmory, there's a lot... Skarmory is pretty much one of the reasons why people are running in a lead. You take out Wigglytuff as well as Altaria. But these monsters have still been, yeah, they're still very good. Not to say Altaria isn't a bad lead. Yes, it's at number 18, but it's still really good. Because, like I said, it's able to take out Alolan Marowak, it takes out the fighters, and it takes out a lot of the elemental leads. So it's still not bad. It's just statistically, it just gets targeted too much. Same thing with Alolan Marowak. For your switches, Vigoroth is still being a boss. The switches actually haven't changed at all. The reason being is because Vigoroth, like, ironically, you don't see a lot of Vigoroths in this meta. I've seen some, but I've seen more Obstagoons. But the number one thing about Viggy as a switch is you're able to beat Wigglytuff. So if they throw Wigglytuff into you, throw your get energy with whatever's in the lead, then you can throw in your Vigoroth and just outspam them. Just body slam them to death. As you see, Vigoroth's very powerful against the general meta. And body slams allow you to take out Altaria, Marowak, and you can still do heavy damage to Frostless. Frostless is probably the worst thing you can see because you have to bulldoze to do a decent amount of damage, but you can still chip away with body slam. And Frostless. Frostless has been a monster. You've probably seen a Frostless on many popular teams, just because Frostless with energy and with shields is very, very strong. It's very hard to take it out. If you take out the Frostless and have your other two, you can probably make up a match. However, Frostless does have shields and energy. It's very difficult to come back. And that's why it is the second switch compared to Vigoroth. Ironically, Frostless is able to take down Vigoroth as well as Obstagoon. Obstagoon is still strong against Frostless. If Obstagoon has energy lead, Night Slash will do super effective damage, and if you get the boost, it pretty much flips the entire matchup because you go from surviving one Night Slash to basically almost getting destroyed by the boosted version, +2. The switches haven't changed much. Switches are still generally the same versus the previous update, or when Holodeka first came out, just because these switches are so oppressive. Again, Obstagoon's still a very great switch because of its ability to boost. If it boosts, it could probably flip a matchup unless you're facing a Wigglytuff. That's gonna suck. Or unless you just Gunk Shot him to death. Either one. But you want Cross Chop just to cover Vigoroth and to do heavy damage against things like Electivire, against Vigoroths, like I mentioned, and against Alolan Gravelers. As far as closers go, closers have remained the same as well. Regice took a fall just because no one's really using it, and with Alolan Graveler and fighters running around, Regice kind of takes the cake. Like I mentioned, Regice was a very powerful closer. However, because you have to bait with Earthquake and even shield scenarios for a lot of times, Regice is not a great pick. As you see in the closer, Spark Lantern as well as Water Gun Lantern have been very popular. That's because Lantern has the ability to take out Alolan Marowak. It can also take out Altaria. And the fighters. It's very tanky. It's tanky and it's able to take out a lot of things with Spark, Thunderbolt, Hydro Pump. You can either one-shot with Hydro Pump or you could take shields with Thunderbolt and Spark if you put into a positive matchup. It's able to take out the anti-tanks, the tanks like Dugong or Lapras, so the Ice-Water hybrids. And Frostless. So yeah, generally it hasn't changed much other than Regice, Lantern being taken. I think Lantern probably rose a bit, but other than that, like Frostless is still a very strong closer. Frostless, and of course the Wild Charge users, just because Wild Charge will KO a lot of things at range. That's why Shadow Raikou is still number 1. I haven't done an analysis on this thing because it's very. Your Shadow Raikou is a very interesting mod. It's not the biggest boy in the world. As you see, a lot of its losses do happen to fly around in the Holiday Cup. However, it's very strong against the AWAC Frostless core, and it does well against the Flyers and the Fighters. It's basically like the kill-all of the entire meta if you do it well. And like I said, Wild Charge hits so much with Shadow Raikou, you can actually take out Altaria at certain ranges, and even a Alolan Graveler if it has Chip. However, that's the lead, those are the closers, that's the switches. As you see, the closers and switches remain largely untouched. The leads and overall have definitely flipped around quite a bit, especially the overall rankings. Alright, as I mentioned before, this is the strategies portion of the video. So there's a reason why I'm starting out here, because the Wiggly 2-shield strat wrecks. If you've seen a lot of Wigglies in the lead, that's because there's not a lot of things that actually stop Charmers. So, there's not a lot of things. There's Venusaur, there's Shadow Victory Bell, as we all hate it. However, Wigglytuff is a monster. Wigglytuff has been the most popular Charm to read, and for good reason why. As you see, it literally deletes most archetypes, with the only unfortunate thing you go against is probably Alolan Marowak. I can take out Alolan Graveler, because Alolan Graveler can only get... with Alolan Graveler, you have to double bait with Rock Blast and then hit a Stone Edge. If it shields once... If it shields a Stone Edge, you lose the matchup. So the Wiggly 2-shield strat is very oppressive. Because of that, you've probably seen a lot of Wigglies in the lead, or a lot of people will shuffle Wiggly into the back, save it with shields, and then you're just dead, because it just wiggles you down. Charmers are very powerful in this cup because of its minimal checks. You take out the hard counter, you save it with shields, and it can go to town. Plus, Wiggly's charge moves can actually take out a good chunk of the meta, especially Play Rough. If it lands, it does heavy damage. So it's either going to take a shield, or it's going to take half of whatever's in front of you, unless it resists Fairy. So, Charmers, very prevalent strategy. Another strategy is the Frostless 2 shield strategy, or saving Frostless with shields, which is one that I took advantage of. If you play Sylph and you've played Sorceress, the Sorceress 2 shield Frostless strat was basically unrivaled. You basically take shields with Azumarill or another pick, and then you save shields with Frostless, give Frostless energy, and it just goes to town. And a very good player, Frostless with energy and with shields can take out your opponent, because it's very, very strong, and Avalanche and Shadow Ball just chunks. And even though you do lose against Obstagoon, you could take out Obstagoon with chip down with an Avalanche at a certain range, or with 2 Avalanches, like I've done a lot. You can take out Alola Marowak with a Shadow Ball. You can take out Wigglytuff with 2 Avalanches. You can take out Skarm with 2 Avalanches. It will not take more than 2 charge moves unless you're debuffed down shield to take out your opposing opponent. So there's a lot of things Frostless can do. Frostless does take a lot of energy and shield management, so that if you play it expertly, you've probably seen a lot of top players use Frostless, and that's why. So another strat that a lot of people have been using is definitely the Bibarel and the Litleo strat. So a lot of top players are using this. So Bibarel is a really interesting pick. Yes, it's at 115, however, it takes out the Alola Marowak Frostless core. Also takes out a lot of popular picks because it's a water type. So because it's a water and normal type, you resist Ghost, you also resist normal. You don't completely resist Alola Marowak, but because you do have Water Gun and you have Surf, Alola Marowak, you essentially wall Marowak. Like, Marowak's Bone Clubs do very meager damage to you. That's another strat. So, as you see here, Bibarel does, if it does land a Bone Club, you only do a quarter, not even a quarter of damage. So, not even 25%. So, you are very safe against Alola Marowak. Now, the thing about the Bibarel strat, and this is a warning I take you, is that you can still lose against Frostless. A Frostless with energy advantage can take out a Bibarel. As you see, the best bet Bibarel has is if you're locked in with about full HP and you're in even energy, or if you have more energy than Frostless, because Surfs actually don't do a ton of damage. Hyper Fang and Hyper Beam are resisted, so if you try to hit it with secondary move, it doesn't work. And that's why Frostless will win. As you see here, if it has shield advantage, you lose in the 0-1s or the 0-2s. Or if you just have shield advantage, as you see here. So a lot of things that I will do is that, as a player that plays Frostless a lot, I will pressure down Bibarel with energy, because 1 Avalanche will do a ton of damage. As you see here, double Avalanche will KO you. So you're not completely safe with Bibarel. If a Frostless has energy lead, it can take you out with 2 Avalanches, just because Bibarel doesn't have the greatest bulk in the world. Now we go on to the secondary strat, which is the Litleo. This is very performed in the same way, however, people are using Litleo or Pyroar. Don't use Pyroar. Pyroar is a bad pick for the reason that you can't give it an XL. So Litleo is another strat. If you notice, it ranks higher than Bibarel. However, with Litleo, the thing with Litleo is that you need an XL to be good. Because the thing is, if you don't have an XL, you can still lose against things like Alola Marowak, you can still lose against Obstagoon, etc. The reason why you run Litleo is because 1, it takes out the Charmers, 2, it takes out Frost, and 3, it takes out Skarmory. So as you see here, it takes out the Steels, it takes out the Charmers, and Frostless. So you key in on different archetypes. The bad thing about Litleo is that Obstagoon and Vigoroth, Altaria and Graveler, there's a lot of its checks in this meta. I've punched down a Litleo, and because it doesn't have the thickest attack in the world, it will lose CMP against a lot of things. As you see here, if you fight Vigoroth, here's what happens. You get punched down. And unfortunately, like I said, you have to have one that's like level 50. As you see here, the ratings do flip if you have a level 50. Or they don't really flip that much, but they also watch what happens. Level 50 Litleo, which is the strategy, as you see here, 1496, level 50 Litleo does very well. As you see, the ratings go up. Now, it's not going to work too much against even shield scenarios, but as you see, Litleo with shield, level 50 Litleo does really well. So if you're going to run Litleo, you have to run it in a level 50 strat. I think the biggest difference is probably seen with Frostless. Here, you destroy Frostless, right? You see those ratings? Now, if you go on to the 40 variation, Frostless has a way out. Frostless can actually do some damage. As you see, the ratings aren't that bad, but with energy lead, are like, this is only if you have energy lead. So, as you see here, if Frostless has an energy lead, let's say Frostless probably banked, like, I don't know, like 5 shots. Frostless can win. So, with energy advantage, Frostless can actually flip the 0 matchups, as you see here. So, Litleo isn't even completely safe. You have to lock in Litleo into Frostless when it doesn't have any energy or shields. Because, as you see here, in the 0s or the 1s and the 2s, if Frostless has a healthy chunk of energy, 1 Avalanche still does 55 damage, which is a little almost half of your HP. And then whatever comes in, if they have a Pokemon alive, will chip you down. This is why the Leo strat isn't completely foolproof. It works a lot because of really good players. Really good players can sense what Leo can do. And if you do happen to lock this in the closer with a Frostless, you can still beat it. So the lockdown strats with Bibarel and Leo are very specific. And you kind of need a level 50 Leo. If you don't have a level 50 Leo, it gets really dicey. As you see here, this is the level 40. If you go to level 50, we run the energy advantage strat. As you see here, you go down. Pull this. Leo can flip this matchup, as you see here. So, level 50 and 40 do have differences. That's another strategy. One strategy as well, the last strategy I will go over, is definitely the double counter strat. So, people are using a double counter strat, or a double count charmer strat, which actually works very well. Actually, this isn't the last one. This is like the third one. So, charmers work very well. Save it with shields. Counter users, the double counter user works well for several reasons. If you put a Vigoroth and you put an Obstagoon in the same team, here's what happens. You put Vigoroth, you put Obstagoon, and if they don't have, okay, Holiday Cup, and then you put Obstagoon, we're going to put Obstagoon in here, and then we hit right for the Holiday Cup. We're going to rank it against the Holiday Cup. Here's what you get. As you see here, it's actually pretty safe and consistent. Yes, your coverage isn't great, however, look what you beat here. Your threats are Charmers, Altaria. You could still beat Altaria with Vigoroth and Galvantula. A lot of these Pokemon can still be beat with an energy lead, etc. So you can still punch a lot of things down, is your potential threats. Now, if you look against the meta, you do pretty dang well against the meta, with everything except Flyers. Skarmory and Altaria. So put something that covers both of these, and like I mentioned, Vigoroth and Obstagoon can take out Skarmory and Altaria depending on shield and energy situations. So, especially if Obstagoon gets the boost, Altaria isn't going to like those Night Slashes. But as you see here, very good core. Same thing with the double Charmer strat. Double Charmer strat, there's not a lot of things that check it. You got Wiggly, you got Wiggles. Whimsicott is the one I've seen, the double Charmer strat. And then you run this, here's what you see. You run that, this is what you get. As you see, not super safe, but the coverage is going to be crap because you're only covering one thing. But look at what you beat. As long as you avoid what resists you, you have some pretty good coverage, as in Steel, as in Fire, and as in Skarmory. So as long as you get one of those out of the way, or make it a scenario where you have energy advantage, these Pokemon actually do very, very well. As you see here, with energy, if Skarmory is hurt, so say you're hurt, like you have like 40 HP left, this is just assuming. Say it's hurt, Whimsy has shields, Whimsy can win. As you see, there are charm down ranges for even steel typings. So this is why the Charmer strat is so annoying, because not even if you do resist it, if you're hurt, you're gonna get charmed down. There's nothing you can do about it. As you see here, and with shields, which is why you save it with shields. But yeah, this is the most common strategies that I've seen. Obviously, there are additional strategies. The last one I probably see is Venusaur or Shadow Victory Bell. Oh boy. Thought I hated this thing. I don't hate. I dislike it. I very much dislike it. As you see, Shadow Victory Bell ranks at number 66. It actually takes out the Charmers. It takes out the Fighters as well, and Frostless with 2 shields. So unless you lock it into one of these where you have a hard wall against it, it's not going to be a good time. It's happened to me a lot where Shadow Victory Bell still goes. So because of that, some people are employing a strategy where you use Shadow Victory Bell with the Charmer, or you save Shadow Victory Bell in the back with 2 shields, like you would in Great League, in Open Great League. So yeah. It's arguably more annoying in Holiday Cup, because if you watch my Shadow Victory Bell video or my Charm videos, there's not a lot of things that check it. Take out the hard counter, and unless you have 2 things that counter Shadow Victory Bell, then you're still gonna have a good time. Especially if it hits the Acid Spray, baits the shield, it's not gonna be a good time. But those are the strategies that I've thought of. If you guys see more, please put in the comments, but these are the most popular patterns that I've noticed. And that's it, guys. I hope you are all doing well on either Master League, whichever league you are doing, or the Holiday Cup. For my synopsis, Holiday Cup, actually, it's okay. It's fun, but because of the way I've analyzed it, of how Charmers and Shadow Vic are pretty dang safe, I don't like it. Yeah, it's kind of sucks. It kind of sucks because, like I said, Charmers and Shadow Vic are pretty dang safe, especially if you can strategize with them very well. Me, I've actually went up from 22, where did I leave off? 22 something to like 25. So I'm doing really well in Holiday Cup. If you watch my Twitch streams, my team's working very well. There are way outs. I practiced with it a lot. And my theory craft of taking down shields very quickly and then sweeping with my back row actually has worked very well with this double safe switch. So even though it's a really vanilla team. I hope you're doing well, though. Like I said, Wiggly, like, if you're using Wigglytuff, if you're using the strategies I mentioned, they're working well for you. That's good. That's good. I'm hoping everyone that watches my videos is doing very, very well. As for my overall analysis of the Holiday Cup so far, the only gripe I have about it is the whole Charmer and Shadow Victory Bell kind of deal. So, if you played Sylph, Sunrise Cup is very similar to Holiday Cup. They're very similar. So that's why I kind of already had an idea of what Holiday Cup is like. I didn't study Sunrise Cup because I'm doing a Sylph Nuzlocke, so I don't really study or analyze my teams. But as I battle and as I do tournaments, I notice patterns and I notice Pokemon that are used, etc. As you see here, it's very, like, the addition of having Shadow Vic just makes things so annoying. I just dislike Shadow Vic. But I hope you guys are doing well. Again, this cup is a lot. So far it's been fun for me. But just because of that one thing I mentioned, like I mentioned with Wiggles and the evil Venus Flytrap from Hell, that's the only gripe I have. Other than that, it's a very neutral and fun cup. It really challenges you to be good at energy and shield management and to really figure things out. So unless you see Wigglytuff and the evil Venus Flytrap in the back with shields, then you just die, like I do a lot. I hope you guys are doing well in Go Battle League sets. Again, we only have a few days for Holiday Cup. It will not return. When all the leagues return, it will be all 3 leagues with Ultra Premier. So Holiday Cup will go away come Monday. So I advise you to do that extra day on Monday to get the Holiday Cup or do an extra day of Holiday Cup because the leagues will flip at 1 p.m. PST. So remember that. It will not return unless Niantic decides to. As of right now, we also do not have any information regarding the second half of the season. There is still over almost 2 months left in the season, and so far we have 0 information on the so-called cups that Niantic is going to feature for the second portion. Or I would say, since Go Battle League is 3 months after the first third of Go Battle League so far. So the second half, our second 75% of Go Battle League, we have no idea what's going on. Of course, as soon as we get that news, I will make videos, I will make analysis as usual. Thank you for all the support. Happy New Year's, happy holidays, and I wish you and your families the best New Year's of all time because 2021's actually sucked pretty hard, so cheers to 2021. To a better year of Go Battle League and to more analysis. And again, thank you for all the support, thank you for all the love, and I will see you guys on the next video.